And some people just cannot help themselves when they see Jews having fun. They need to go after them. Recently, two Israelis have been arrested in Belgium at a festival, a Tomorrowland festival, simply because they were associated with the Israeli state. Now, sort of the official story technically is that they were disturbing peace, but also separately, we have Hind Rajab Foundation involved, and we have covered them in the past. You can look about all their videos, but for those who don't know, they are basically people who go around and try to get Jews arrested all over the world. Basically, their goal is to hunt down every single Jews they can find outside of Israel and leave the Jews inside of Israel to the rest of the Palestinians. So before we go further into the topic, welcome to the Daily Objective. Joining me today is James Valiant. And James, let's actually watch just a little bit of the concert just to see what was happening as soon as I can. There we go. Okay, that's enough. I have to be more careful with these things, especially when music is playing, because we always get copyright striked even for like 5 seconds. But this was the concert that was happening. You can see Israeli flags. You can see sort of people having fun. And again, you can see sort of a difference from Glastonbury, where people were actively promoting killing Jews. As I've said earlier in the episode, basically, whenever Palestinians see Jews having fun at festivals, they have to go in and either kill and slaughter them or try to do anything they can to stop it. And James, we'll go into specifically who the two individual is, as well as the everything around it. But your first thoughts about this situation?
Well, if a group of people were from Brazil and they're at the festival waving the Brazilian flag, or if a group of Lithuanians were there waving the Lithuanian flag, would that be disturbing the peace? Could that possibly be considered disturbing the peace? Both countries are recognized as legitimate countries by the Kingdom of Belgium, and so is Israel, as I understand it. So I don't understand how it's disturbing the peace to wave a flag. But as you point out, at the Glastonbury Musical Festival, they could yell "Death to the IDF." You know, death, death, death to the IDF, and they could chant that. The singer, the artist on stage could do that. So, no, my thought is here that it's disturbing that they got detained. Uh, I know they were just detained, but we're not talking about, and everyone in Israel basically has to serve in the military. So why are we detaining just Israelis or Jews? Why any government that would do that is only encouraging the rise in anti-Semitism. And let's not evade the facts here. There's been a disturbing rise around the world in anti-Semitic incidents, deadly anti-Semitic incidents. We've talked about the violence done. I mean, in next door neighbor Netherlands, I mean, they were in effect throwing Jewish people, Israelis, into the canals at night. Nice, warm, Dutch canals in the middle of the night. So they're all around the world, and in places like Canada, which used to accept refugees very liberally from around the world, there were a lot of Jewish Eastern European immigrants to that country. Places like the United States and Canada at one time were thought to be comparatively safe places against anti-Semitism, against the anti-Semitist history of the Muslim world certainly, and my God, the Christian world in Europe, which it climaxed only in the 20th century with the Holocaust. So it was thought that but listen to what's happening, what they're chanting in Australia, what they're doing in Australia. Listen to what they're doing in Canada. Look at the arrest warrants going out for Netanyahu. Now, even that is absurd, saying that you're going to enforce the arrest warrants against Netanyahu on this bullshit, pardon my language, international law. What happened was Israel has been engaged in defending itself since October 7th. Since the time Hamas got elected to be the leaders of Gaza almost 20 years ago, like 20 years ago now, they were been within days of coming to power, within, I guess, a couple of weeks within coming to power, 2 to 4 weeks, they were lobbing rockets at Israel nonstop, basically. I mean, it was periodically more intense than at other times. And that climaxed in what? The atrocities of October 7th. Israel has been engaged in an act of self defense since then. Since then. And they have come under, since doing that, they've been under continuous barrages of, mostly ineffectual, but not, I mean, Israelis have died. Where are all these things coming from? The Houthis, Hezbollah, Iran, not to mention, of course, continued rocket attacks from Hamas, at least for a period. So Israel is engaged in a defensive action. They've taken unprecedented steps to protect civilians who are used as human shields and propaganda tools by Hamas. And it's Israel and Israelis and Jews who are what? They're disturbing the peace. um, uh, Netanyahu's engaged in war, some kind of war crimes or genocide. No, this has been unprecedented in how Israel is bent over backwards, in my view, far too much, bending over back, warning people to get out of buildings and so forth, trying to provide aid to the feeding the enemy. I've never heard of that in war, as we've mentioned many, many times. But to the extent that these governments are detaining Israelis, to the extent that they might charge them, and I understand it's just so far in detention, they are simply encouraging the current rise in anti-Semitism around the world. There's been murderous anti-Semitic violence in my country. There are what if waving flags is disturbing the peace? How about all those people in my country who waved Hamas flags or Palestinian flags at their university demonstrations? And I can go on and on and on. There's been a sharp rise in recent years, but particularly since October 7th, in anti Semitic hate crimes around the world. These governments, like Belgium, they better take a look in the mirror because they are actually aiding, abetting, and encouraging this worldwide rise in anti Semitic violence. That's my take on this.
So I should mention the local sources indicated that the tensions were connected to public order concerns after the soldiers were seen displaying military symbols in a crowded public event. The soldiers were questioned, and I should also clarify they were released already, so they are out and they are, as far as I know, are sort of free to leave the country. Somebody was asking where did this happen, so Belgium, uh, Tomorrowland concert or festival.
Festival,
Uh,
yeah.
and so yeah, that's sort of like the story. But I think the much sort of scarier part is again the Hind Rajab Foundation, and let's cover what they've said. Basically, they've of course praised this and said this should continue, saying. For the first time in Europe, Israeli suspects linked to Gaza crimes were subjected to formal arrest and interrogation. So this is a complete lie, pretty much. They were not arrested because of their involvement. Even so, somebody also asked who they were. I'm not sure if their names were released. I tried looking up. I haven't seen, so maybe their names are not known. But they are IDF soldiers, or at least sort of were. So we know that. But there's absolutely no confirmation that they were arrested because of their involvement in Gaza war. Yet they are trying to claim that the Hind Rajab Foundation, and also after the release, the chairman of Hind Rajab Foundation, Abu Jaja, said on X that basically warning the Belgian prosecutors that releasing him would allow future crimes to occur.
Crime,
James,
a
as a
crime of peace.
prosecutor, what kind of idea is this that you should maybe we should lock everybody up? I mean, not to mention not even talking about the engaging in war in Gaza as a crime, as these IDF soldiers are doing something evil when it's one of the So they are defending the Western civilization. They are the only wall right now that is actively fighting the ideology of Palestinianism, the ideology of Islamism, and the fact that they would be subjected to this. There is also a separate article I've sent you, right, about the sort of IDF soldiers being afraid to travel because of how much both hate and actual danger they are put into. The fact that there is a potentiality that they countries would just arrest them with foundations like this, the Hind Rajab Foundation, actively trying to get every single IDF soldier arrested again for defending a free nation.
That would be a crime against international law. That is anti-Semitic. That is, what is it, the crime of being a proud Zionist? The crime, what is it we're going to arrest them for, according to this organization? Being Jewish, the crime of being Jewish, the crime of being Israeli, the crime of being a Zionist. What is the formal charge they want? But as I
Well,
say,
they are claiming sort of that they are committing war crimes.
war crimes. Well, the war crimes back there. How is this now? We're going to go after Israelis in general, or Israel, because every Israeli has to belong basically to the, there are some religious exceptions and so forth, but basically every Israeli has to go through the army, be part of the IDF. And so
Well,
that
we should clarify Jewish Israelis. Arab
Jewish,
Israelis
yeah,
are
that,
exempt.
as I say, there are religious exceptions involved in this, and even among Jews, there are religious exceptions among this. But in effect, they have a draft. So most Israelis have, to just state the empirical fact, most Israelis have to be part of the Israeli armed services at one point or another. So does this mean we can arrest most Israelis and they should be afraid to travel into Western countries like Belgium or Canada, as they are right now, when there's a worldwide rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes? No, being Jewish is becoming dangerous, and it's the job of Belgium to protect Jews and Israelis, unless they themselves want to say that every single Israeli who's part of the military is engaged in war crimes. I guess is that the Belgian position? But that's not, I mean, the fact is they were only detained, and for as far as I know, they haven't been charged with anything. But how is it provocative? Is it being, uh, are you a provocateur, Belgian kingdom, if you simply wave a Jewish flag? I mean, what is it? It's the crime here. Disturbing the peace. If someone, as I say, they were at the festival and they were Brazilian and they waved a Brazilian flag. I mean, one could object to Brazil's policy. One could say, aha, it's provocative given the government in Brazil right now, the Sao Paulo government or whatever, is being provocative. What now you're making it a crime to be from country X, and is that really the path we want to go down? That would be the violation of freedom. That would be the violation of rights, and it's clearly a bigoted one. No question about it. There's a worldwide rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes going on right now. And if these governments take any further steps, let me put it that way, then they are aiding, abetting, and encouraging violence against Jewish people in Western countries, which is going on right now. So the governments themselves had best, I mean, I appreciate the sensitive position the Belgian government is in. I mean, they haven't, as I say, it was just detained, they were released. I don't know that there's any charges yet pending. But Jews and Israelis, I mean, they're afraid to travel abroad. They're afraid to go to countries. Are we going to make them afraid? Is that the policy now from Western governments, to make Israelis afraid to visit their countries in the wake of a completely self-defensive action after October 7th? I mean, that is hideous. That is in effect morally sanctioning the atrocities of October 7th, as if they were the victims, as if Gazans were the victims of the atrocities of October 7th. In fact, Israel has been far too restrained in the way it's conducted this war. It has taken unprecedented steps to protect civilian lives. It's absolute madness. And to the extent governments participate in arrests of people, claiming this to be somehow disturbing the peace or provocation, Would they do so, as I say, if they were waving a Lithuanian flag? No, obviously not. This is just for Jews. Jews who are right now being subjected to a worldwide rise in anti-Semitic hate.
Yeah, and just to bring one more thing from the Hind Rajab Foundation, so they've also, I think this was on their website, have said two individuals responsible for grave international crimes, including war crimes and genocide committed in the Gaza Strip, are currently on Belgian soil, attending the Tomorrowland Music Festival in Boom. The Hind Rajab Foundation, in association with GLAN, has submitted urgent legal complaints to the federal prosecutor, calling for their immediate arrest and prosecution under Belgium's universal jurisdiction laws. So again, there is no evidence of these two individuals committing any war crimes. They are assuming it by simply being the part of the IDF, because all of it is automatically taken against them, because again they are Jews, because they are the one state that is actually defending itself, the one state that is actually willing to fight evil. And on the reality show we'll talk more about that, about how much credit does Israel get for its fighting of evil. But again, this is like truly despicable. There is no objective law. There is no hope for truth. There is no hope for actually finding out what's happening. The whole reason is simply get every single Jew and hunt him down, like they did in Amsterdam. Hunt them down, run ride with your car and try to find them, to run them over, throw them in a canal. And, if you manage to beat up some Ukrainians or some non-Jewish people in the process, well, that's the sacrifice you sometimes have to make when it comes to wiping out all the Jews.
Unbelievable, but that you're absolutely correct. This organization wants it to be a crime to be an Israeli, in effect. They want it to be criminal for, arrest on site anyone on your national soil, someone who would dare to be part of the IDF or wave an Israeli flag. Apparently, that's their position. They're complaining to the Belgian prosecutors. Gosh, you really have to charge these people for what? The crime of being Israeli? Wow, that is absolutely breathtaking bigotry and hatred. That is racist. That would be a collectivist sort of crime against morality. If there is a moral international standard that is objective, that would be the violation of what I would regard as the objective moral standard. Now, Belgium didn't, as I say, they just detained these people and they have released them, and so far they haven't been charged. But just detaining them for disturbing the peace, to the extent that governments do this, to the extent that governments would concede this position that this organization wants them to take, even to the extent that they are detaining them for disturbing the peace, they're suggesting that they are sanctioning, as I say, the rise in international anti-Semitism. There's no other way of looking at it. These governments are sanctioning. I mean, we were talking before the show about the current king of Belgium and his comments about.
Should I bring it up?
I'm sorry?
Should I bring that up now? The video? Yeah, so there's something I kind of appreciate about the country I live in, and it's the fact that we don't have a sovereign as bad as our head of states are. It's good to know that if I want, I can get rid of them, and I mean by voting, not some other way, which especially with some recent events I shouldn't joke about. But let's listen from the Belgian king. So he speaks in whatever they speak in Belgium, but there are subtitles, so you can read them. And for people on the podcast, we'll summarize later what he said.
Dat naast de politieke dimensie het steeds de menselijke waardigheid is die op het spel staat. Ik sta volledig achter hun pleidooi en sluit mij aan bij al wie de ernstige humanitaire wantoestanden in Gaza aan de kaak stelt, waar onschuldige burgers gevangen in hun enclave van honger sterven en bezwijken onder de bommen. De huidige toestand sleept al veel te lang aan. Dit is een schande voor de mensheid. Wij steunen de oproep van de secretaris-generaal van de Verenigde Naties om onmiddellijk aan deze ondraaglijke crisis een einde te maken.
So, yeah, for people on the podcast, he talked about the humanitarian abuses in Gaza, about the dying of innocent civilians, about how innocent civilians are starving, are succumbing to bombs, how this has been going for far too long. It's a disgrace to humanity, and that he supports Secretary General. I mean, just a reminder, this is like a, what did you say, James? Grandnephew of the King Leopold II, who basically, I guess, not necessarily committed genocide in Congo, but very much wasn't the nicest state to be in, and to come from there while still being the king, while still having the same position as that person, and trying to lecture Israel about what it is doing in Gaza is tasteless at the very least, and truly disgusting. Actually, he is repeating all the same propaganda. He is repeating all the same lies and blood libels against Israel that we have been hearing.
It's wonderful to come from a country that isn't even nominally ruled by one of these descendants of a line of monster butchers and anti-Semites. I mean, his his royal line goes back many centuries to German nobility and various royal lines. Yeah, and what we say about European kings? They were engaged in vicious anti-Semitic violence in many cases. They were in between themselves. It was a competition of butchers to see who would be the surviving king, and so he comes from, yes, a line of ruthless butchers. Now, I don't mean to offend the Belgian people and their king, nor do I mean to offend the British or the Norwegians or the Danish or the Swedes or the Spaniards who still are nominally ruled by these people. But isn't it wonderful not to have a king? But of course, he is. What is he saying? Is he? He, like I say, every time Belgium even detains Israelis, they're encouraging anti-Semitism. What is he doing right now? Your Majesty, what are you doing but encouraging the worldwide rise in anti-Semitic violence? And if there's violence against Israelis, what the hell are you talking about? If little Belgium were attacked in the same way that Israel was attacked on October 7th, and this is what I would want to bring up, Belgium was a victim of Germany in 2 world wars. I mean, World War I, really the invasion and rape of Belgium was a critical part of Great Britain having to join in the fight against the Kaiser. In World War II, they too were victims of the Germans. They should know what it's like to be victims of the ordinary Belgian. I'm not talking about the kings. I'm talking about the ordinary Belgian, just within the last century or so, have been victims of an invasion and atrocities, just as Israel was a victim of invasion and atrocities on October 7th. The king this is talk about poor taste. If Belgium had been attacked the way that Israel was attacked on October 7th, he'd be singing a far different tune. He wouldn't, I'm sure, well, maybe he would think that it would be appropriate to feed the people who attacked his country and raped his people and engaged in atrocities like the Germans did at the outset of the last 2 world wars. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting and despicable. I don't mean to offend any Belgians out there, quite the opposite. The ordinary Belgium was the victim of German atrocities at the outset of both world wars. And they should be on the side of Israel, if anyone should be. I can't even fathom this man. And he says it like there's some moral high ground that he's got, as if he's got the moral high ground. No, what he's doing is he's defending the atrocities of October the 7th by secondhand. He is sanctioning these Guterres and the UN and their position on Israel and Netanyahu when Israel has taken unprecedented steps to protect civilians. No, it was it was something like his great uncle or something who was King Leopold who did the atrocities in Congo. So I have very little respect for European royals. I have very much respect for my European friends, whatever country they come from. But come on, these people speak as though they have some kind of moral authority. It's repulsive, utterly repulsive.
We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. A super chat from PC. Thank you so much. He says, here in London, diners were harassed at a kosher deli. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We had that other story where in Australia, where they broke into an Israeli restaurant. They also set fire to a synagogue. So yeah, this is what it's meant to do. It's meant to scare Jews. It's meant to make them hide, make them basically, hide and run away.
Right.
Um,
It's encouraging racist, anti-Semitic. I mean, Jewishness is not a race, but that's the way Hitler looked at it, and I guess that's the way this organization looks at it. And I guess association with Israel is the race involved here, but it is bigoted, collectivist violence. There's a worldwide rise in violent attacks against Jews. Let's face it, it's unmistakable, it's obvious. Whether you're in Amsterdam, whether you're in Australia, whether you're at a Glastonbury music festival, there's this vicious, violent anti Semitism that is on the rise. Death to the IDF at a music festival in England? I mean, come on. What's going on right now is being aided, abetted, and encouraged by the United Nations. Racist violence is being encouraged by the United Nations. Racist violence is being encouraged by the King of Belgium. And to the extent that Israelis are getting detained for disturbing the peace because they waved Israeli flags at a festival, when no other country in the world would be treated like that. No matter what the military condition, no matter what the political condition, they get away with it, but not Israel, because Israel is the one civilized country in the area. Israel is the one country that respects any kind of individual rights in the area, and they're surrounded by medieval savages. They were subjected to atrocities on October 7th, and if they defend themselves, they're the bad guys. That's the logic here. So all these forces are actually encouraging, and it should be no surprise to us that around the world there's a rise in anti-Semitic violence. And it should be absolutely no surprise given the way Western governments are treating it. Whether it's the Canadian government, the Australian government, my government. I mean, it's a little better, I guess, the way my government is responding to it right now. But it's governments around the world, and now kings, I guess, around the world, who are encouraging this racist violence.
we
Just disturbing, chilling.
we have a super chat from Kenny. Thank you so much. He says, Belgian here. I should point out that the king is basically just as ignorant about all this as most Belgians. I mean, he is, for all that it kind of makes sense, or sort of, you might be right there. The fact is, he is the head of state of Belgium, and he is somebody who should know better. I don't think you can claim ignorance or ignorance as a head of state. You should know better. You should. The one thing that the head of state, either kings or presidents in parliamentary systems where they don't have much any well, they don't really have any power. One thing they have is their words and their
Words.
moral sanction.
That's
And
it.
when they decide to use it against the one Jewish state, against the one state that is actually defending itself, you are failing at the one job you should
The
have,
one
and it's
job
moral
you have, which
clarity.
is PR. Yeah. What are European kings anymore but the PR spokesman for their people? And are Belgians proud of their king right now? I mean, Belgians are, that I've known are good, decent people. And as I say, the ordinary Belgian has been the victim of atrocities from the Germans in two world wars. But that means, in my view, Belgians should be more aware of what Israel has suffered themselves on October 7th and the need to react to it. Would the Belgians, who were twice invaded by Germany in the last century, is it say 110, 115 years, would they not want Great Britain to come to their defense when Germans invade, when German soldiers are engaged in atrocities against their people? No, I think they very much appreciated it when the British government came to their aid and joined in the fight against Germany. But German people today are innocent. I don't blame them for what happened, and I certainly don't blame the ordinary Belgian who should be aware of what invasion and atrocity is all about, and the need to defend oneself. But here you've got the Belgian government detaining Israelis. You've got the Belgian king calling Israel basically a international criminal nation. That would not obtain in any other context, even if they were at war. And they certainly, if they were at war, would not be handling it as gingerly as Netanyahu has handled the Palestinian population in Gaza. So it's absolutely outrageous and obviously encouraging of anti-Semitic hate crimes, in my view.
We have a super chat from Bull Moose. Thank you so much. He says Israel should demand the government at least condemn the incident or cut off relations and trade. And if they actually racially charge Israelis, Israel should arrest the Belgian ambassador to Israel and trade him for them. So, as I've said, they were already let go. And as far as the latest news, the prosecutors are not planning anything else. If the story holds true that this was just some kind of disturbance, we'll have to see. I think Israeli government hasn't officially yet commented on it that much. It just had said that it is in touch with the two individuals, and basically the Foreign Office. Or the foreign ministry in Israel is basically in touch with them to coordinate if they need anything. But yeah, absolutely it should be looked into for
You know, the
Israel.
crime of being Jewish. It's becoming terrifying to be an Israeli in the world today. They're, in effect, bottling them up in Israel. So, no, we don't need a state of Israel. We think about that, you know, that with all the rise in this worldwide anti-Semitism and hate crimes around the world, tell me that Zionism is incorrect, that we don't need a place where Jews can defend themselves from this onslaught of bigoted hatred, this defense of savagery against them. And that's all that it is. It's a sanctioning of the violence of Hamas on October 7th.
Somebody says, I will donate to Hind Rajab Foundation. Yes, you can go to aynrandcenter.co.uk/membership and you can donate to Hind Rajab Foundation. We'll make sure the money gets into the right location. We have also super chat from PC. Thank you so much. He says, James, it's bad. Nobody is supporting the Druze except Israel. Why nobody cares?
Oh no, Israel is getting all kinds of grief for coming to the defense of the Druze. I mean, come on. How dare you defend a small religious minority in the country of Syria? I mean, my God, the only place where the Druze now in the region have any safety is when the area is occupied by Israel. So, yeah, but when a country goes after a religious minority, that tells you everything you need to know about the country. Mr. Trump, do not lift sanctions on a country that would do that. Mr. Trump, make this an issue. If the new Syrian government wants to be accepted and you want to have deals with them, Mr. Trump, who wants to deal with everybody on this planet, think of who you're making a deal with. People who are perfectly willing to slaughter a religious minority within their country. But of course, he thinks President Xi of China, who's engaged in, you know, in effect, racist violence against the Uyghurs in China. Okay, well, I guess we can deal with anybody. We can deal with Iran directly now. Okay. The most disgusting, oppressive countries in the world. And, you know, apart from, yes, of course, every nation needs to look after its own self-interest when it comes to making decisions about how to fight and where to draw the line. But just even to recognize the legitimacy of governments that oppress their own people is morally wrong. In the long run, it's bad for us if we recognize those governments as well. When there's as Ayn Rand said many times, a compromise between good and evil can only result in evil benefiting. The good has nothing to gain from dealing with the evil. Only evil can gain when we engage in deals of any kind with these oppressive governments that go after minority segments of their own population. It's just truly evil.
We have a super chat from Kenny. Thank you so much. He says, you make great points, James. Thank you. Thank you for providing clarity. Thank you so much for your support and for everybody's support. With that, let me remind people about the Irreplaceable Spark Conference. It's a conference Ayn Rand Center UK is planning later this year, October 25th and 26th. It's a weekend conference, so you can just quickly fly in and or drive in. It's in Southern California, Orange County, California specifically. You can find out more about it on objectivism.co.uk. Visit the link in the chat and in the description. With that, James, any last thoughts and where can people find you?
Well, my Israeli friends, my Jewish friends, and my Zionist friends, be careful out there. I always, my typical sign off since October 7th has been be safe. And when you have governments now officially against Israelis, not Netanyahu, not the government, that's absurd. That's evil and absurd by itself. But when you've got the governments even detaining or threatening to arrest you because you've been in a world of conscription and draft, mind you, in Israel, people who've been in the IDF or Jews who wave the flag of Israel, then that is a threat to you, an ethnic threat to you. That is the moral crime against humanity. International law is nonsensical, especially in this world's context. But that is the moral threat. Be safe out there. There is, thank God, a Jewish state, a place that where Jews can go and be relatively safe in this world, in this rising tide of anti-Semitic violence that we're seeing in so-called civilized countries, including my own. So be safe. I'm on Facebook almost every day. I'm answering questions there, James Stevens Valiant, and I will be there coaching at the Irreplaceable Spark Conference in Orange County. So please join us if you can, and please become a paid member of the Ayn Rand Center UK. You're getting a position here, a voice here that you're not going to hear anywhere else.
And we are not done for today. We have the reality show coming up in just a few minutes where we'll talk about how Palestinians get fed and Jews get blamed. So make sure to join us there in just a couple of minutes. Thank you, James, for joining me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and bye-bye.
Be safe.